Hello and welcome to Broadcast Beat's pre-IBC show coverage. Today we have a very special guest, James Edershaw, Sales Director at ShotIQ. How are you, sir?
Very good, Ryan, thank you.
Thanks for being with us today. So talk about the SmartPed and how it's being received in the United States and Europe.
Very well indeed. So as you may recall, we launched SmartPed officially at NAB this year, so just earlier this year, and it's been phenomenal. I mean, the interest was fantastic at the show, after the show. Lots and lots of interest. We've got double-digit sales already across Canada, big projects there, and in Europe as well.
Okay, so what would you say are the key reasons for the success, and what's different from other products like this?
Well, I think the reason is, there's a couple of reasons. Obviously, it's never just one. I mean, I think we designed it from the ground up to be simple to use, very reliable, very precise, and very stable. And if you build all of those in from the ground up, you're going to end up with a great product. And that's basically what customers are finding. So they trust us as a company. They know our background. We've been building robotic pedestals for years, and this is the sort of latest generation. As I say, the simplicity and the reliability and the performance together just make a great package.
So the type of client that uses this type of product, is it more of a large-scale broadcaster?
Typically they're larger. They're not always huge, but there's a price ticket that comes with using a fully robotic pedestal of any kind. But the benefits that they get from that are very real, in terms of performance and consistency and repeatability. So they tend to vary, but yeah, certainly at the larger end, but again, by no means exclusively.
Okay, all right, so what are some of the key features of the new TP500 PED?
Well, the TP500 is different. That's a manual pedestal. It's a new pedestal for us. It's very much at the lightweight end of the range. So we've traditionally had a range for the mid and the higher end payload I'm talking about, but at the lightweight end, we didn't really have a studio or an OB pedestal for that. So the TP500 is filling that gap. It's been fantastically received again, as I said, and the payload of 55 kilos just puts it at the right, that's about 110 pounds. That puts it just at the right level for people looking for that kind of quick rig, de-rig, move on kind of setup, but with the performance that you need when it's in use. It's a very compact. You can take it apart, move it on, as I said. But what's great as well, it has this feature where, when you're doing that, there's always a small risk that you might remove the load before you've locked the column down. So obviously, as you know, with a manual pedestal, you have a pressurized column, and that can be a problem in some instances if you were to try to remove the load or break the thing down without releasing that pressure. But with the TP500, we have this unique feature which allows it, even if you were to do that inadvertently, it wouldn't just expand very fast and cause a problem or damage the PED. So that's been very well received as well.
So I'm really curious, the FreeD2, has it complemented traditional VR tracking systems?
FreeD2, so that's our absolute positioning, absolute tracking system, very much complementing. So obviously there are different environments that people might want to do VR in. We've been known for many, many years for making pedestals and heads and tripods and so on in a tracked environment. And they're great if that works for you, but there are times when you might want to use your existing pedestals or heads and they do not have VR tracking capabilities. So something like FreeD allows you to effectively track the studio with whatever cameras you choose to put in there, whether they're on old pedestals, whether they're handheld, Steadicam, or so on. So they really complement that, but there's still very much an interest in using FreeD or maybe combining as well using with regular tracked pedestals if you have them.
Okay, so I was reading some stuff on your website and I noticed that you have a unique 2-point calibration system. What kind of benefits does that bring to using VR tracking systems?
Right, well that's great because 2-point calibration it applies to any of those pedestals or heads or cranes that I mentioned earlier. So that's not FreeD, but in those cases where you're using a pedestal or a head, traditionally what you have to do with those kind of technologies is bring them over to some point in the studio, a home point, which will be the zero position. And everything from then on is referenced back to that. And that's fine, it's how most people are working, and it's great. But it does mean you've got to bring the pedestal back to that point when you need to re-reference. With the 2-point calibration process, you can do that calibration, that referencing from anywhere in the studio. You just point the camera at the points that you need to see, and that will give enough information to the pedestal or the head for where it must be located in the studio. Saves you having to take it back to that home point. And even allows you to reposition a camera which has no 3D tracking at all on the base. So you could just reposition it. Of course, the base has no idea where it is. Use the 2-point calibration and you'll immediately know exactly the XY position of the camera.
Excellent. So lastly, has the growth and interest of AR and VR production continued, and do we see that trend continuing into 2017?
Yeah, we do. Certainly VR and then AR have been very much a growing area for the last 3 or 4 years, I would say, having been pretty flat for a number of years. A lot of reasons for that: cost of the graphics, availability of better, bigger, more sophisticated tracking systems. And we definitely see that coming. 3D is part of that. We saw the market had a need for that kind of thing. And certainly we're seeing that at the moment, and we definitely predict that carrying into next year.
All right, again, James Edershaw, Sales Director of ShotIQ. We'll see you at the 2016 IBC show, Hall 12, stand E42. Have a great day, and we'll see you in Amsterdam.
Thank you, Ryan. Goodbye.